Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm here with Greg today. We're going to run the rule over the big Everton talking points of this week. The question we're going to ask in this video is, should Marco Silva be picking Tom Davies? There's plenty of cases for and against throwing Tom Davies into this side at the moment. The question is, what do you think, Greg? What's the next step for Tom Davies and Marco Silva at this moment in time?
Yeah, as you said, it's a good opportunity for Tom Davies at the moment. I think this is the time where there's the most positives for him. Obviously, we're plagued by injuries in the midfield at the moment, and if you're looking at one place where our squad looked especially weak against Aston Villa, I reckon we got completely overrun in the midfield.
I'd absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. The big question with Tom Davies is, where do you throw him in the midfield? I don't think you can replace Morgan Schneiderlin with him. I think they're different types of player. If Gomez carries on having games like he did against Aston Villa, that might be a position to throw him in. Or maybe you take Gylfi Sigurdsson out and play more of a flat midfield three. I think that could be an answer.
I think the flat midfield certainly suits Tom Davies. If I remember rightly, when he broke into the team in Ronald Koeman's first season, he had a really good spell, and that was as a trio, I think, alongside Ganner and Schneiderlin, which perhaps Gomez and Schneiderlin could maybe replicate that a little bit. I think if Davies is to come in, and I do believe Davies should come in myself,
yeah, agreed.
It has to be the Sigurdsson or Gomez who's dropped. The question is who Marco Silva wants to drop, and will he actually do that anyway?
Yeah, I mean, he can be stubborn, Silva. Once he gets something, he tends to run with it for quite a while. But I think it was Terry who was saying in another video. He looked at sort of Liverpool and Arsenal and said, when Özil needs to play, they change the system. When Shaqiri needs to play, Liverpool change the system. We don't have that adaptability in our squad, really. So
that is a real issue, isn't it?
Yeah, but feasibly we have a way of doing that. If that midfield three is our sort of basis, and then when we need to bring Sigurdsson in for a team that needs to be broken down in the way that Gylfi Sigurdsson can break teams down, it gives us an adaptability.
I think Sigurdsson's obviously got the quality, maybe seems to produce the most end product out of those three players. It does beg the question, is we invested heavily, of course, in Andre Gomez this summer. A lot of the case to be made at the moment is that he should be the one to be dropped, particularly after how poorly he played against Aston Villa.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the problem with him, and I think it's a problem with Davies as well, is they're both confidence players. I think they're going to thrive when they're sort of on top or the team's on top. So I'm not sure bringing Davies in for him whilst one's in a slump of form is the best idea. Unless he can really roll forward and make that spot his. I just think you need someone with a really solid mentality to be playing in that role.
It's difficult because I'm not sure we've got anyone with that kind of mentality at the moment. I think Sigurdsson's the closest, but even he's not in the best of form at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you hope when Delph comes back, he's sort of got that mindset, I think. But
yeah,
for me, it's maybe filling that gap until
a little bit of it's a dilemma at the moment. Obviously, Gbaman's going to be out for 3 months, it seems, which is a rotten look, really, because he looked as if he was starting to get a grip in that Watford game. He had a poor second half, maybe, but it looked as if he was starting to settle in. It's a bit of bad luck, really, if nothing else there. But is Davies the man to maybe provide us with the engine we need in the midfield?
Yeah, I mean, he really could. I mean, if you look at how the midfield played against Aston Villa, we looked quite immobile. We had everyone seemed quite cumbersome, and there was no real agility.
Very static, wasn't it?
Yeah, Davies, what he does do is he runs at players. He provides a bit of agility and adaptability. So he could definitely provide that.
The question is now is what sort of formation does Marco Silva pick against Lincoln on Wednesday?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a good time to trial a flat three in the midfield, that sort of 4-3-3 that he likes or he used to like against Lincoln's got to be the time to try it, you'd think.
Absolutely, because it's clear now that I think the 4-2-3-1 isn't really working, and I think it could work again. But it's a very similar case to maybe Roberto Martinez's final years at Everton, where he was sticking with that 4-2-3-1 and refused to change it. And I think that was ultimately his downfall, because there never seemed to be an alternative system for when different personnel were on the pitch.
Yeah, no, agreed. It all comes down to that adaptability, isn't it? We just don't adapt to the team we're playing. It's why we struggle so much to come back from behind. We struggle to change the system, and where we look best against Villa is where we moved to the sort of two up front, and we did sort of change the way we were attacking them.
I think that does need to become the case a lot more. I mean, we saw it a few times earlier last season. I think Silva did change to 4-4-2 or even 4-2-4 at times in the earlier stages of last season. He seemed to move away from that. Perhaps that's because we didn't struggle as much in the latter stages. We were taking the lead in games and didn't need to do that. But it would be nice to see us do a bit more of that and hopefully not go behind at all. But if we do, we need to start coming from behind and show it a bit more character, to be honest, because I don't think there was enough of that until the change was made.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's just showing that we have something different to, just to give defenders something different to deal with.
Yeah, they looked way too comfortable until Keenan Iwobi came on. About Alec Seawall, could he play against Lincoln, do you reckon? Could he start?
I'd love for him to start against Lincoln, yeah. I think he was the only real flash of positivity in that game. Where he plays, I'm not too sure if he plays out on the left, or maybe he takes out Sigurdsson's position, or maybe Bernard moves in and he moves out. But I'd love to see him start personally.
But it's certainly time for different personnel. Back to Tom Davies, of course. Where's his best position? Is it the more advanced role, or it did seem that he was more advanced in his better sort of spell under Ronald Koeman, whereas he seemed to be dropping a lot deeper last season and maybe didn't have the same sort of success there. What is his best position?
I think he just needs a bit of freedom to go forward in the midfield. I think he needs someone next to him who will anchor him in, like Gay did, in his best spell, or Schneiderlin can do now to some extent. I kind of see him as an Aaron Ramsey type player. He was sort of utilised as a defensive midfielder for a while, and you never saw the best of him. But as soon as he gets that freedom to go forward and be a bit more creative, be a bit more attacking, he's really at his best.
I think we've seen recently that I think this double pivot formation isn't really working. I think, obviously, Morgan Schneiderlin's a decent pivot. Gomez seems to like being in and around that position. Even when Idrissa Gueye was here, he was doing that. I think there's a plenty of case to change to two more advanced centre mids with a defensive midfielder behind them. It seems to be the formation a lot of the top teams, the likes of Man City, Liverpool, have been doing as well. Is that the way to go forward now, or the question is, will Marco Silva consider that?
Yeah, I guess it is whether he will stop being stubborn. But it's also a big question: is if we can find that right defensive midfielder, if we've got someone strong enough who can sort of be left back there. I think Schneiderlin is good, but you'd hope Gbamin will be playing more later in the season when he's back from injury. So I think he's just feeling out whether he can play that position well enough to give two players the freedom to go forward.
I do think that's a bit of rotten luck on our part. I think Gbamin and Davies could well have had a decent little dynamic alongside another midfielder in that trio, but like you say, it remains to be seen now until around November, December, until Jean-Philippe Barnes gets another go. But yeah, there you have it. Tom Davies, in or out against Lincoln?
For me, he's got to be in. For me, it's got to be in. We've got to keep testing that midfield whilst we can before we get to into that December patch where there's too many games and you want to be quite set in how you want to be playing.
I agree, absolutely. Tom Davies in for me as well. So there you have it. As far as this show is concerned, the unanimous decision. Tom Davies should start against Lincoln. What about in the Premier League? Should Davies get a go from the start in the Premier League instead?
I think if he holds his own against Lincoln, maybe he could start in both. He's young, he's got the legs for it. But I don't see why not. I think you can justify taking Gomez out after a game like that and just see what happens, really.
It was pretty atrocious, and I think Davies does deserve another chance. I think he's got it. I think I saw enough in pre-season to see he made a bit of an improvement, I thought, from what I saw of him in pre-season. So let's give him a go. I think, like you say, I think it is going to come down to the Lincoln game and how he performs there. But from there on, if he does well, I can see him getting a go from the start in Premier League games as well. So the verdict seems to be very similar here from both of us. It seems as if he's going to have a bit of a trial, if you like, against Lincoln. If he gets it right, Tom Davies gets into the starting 11. So that's the decision from us on this show. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, drop a like and subscribe. And thank you for watching on the Toffee Blues.